What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we are checking out the Victory Kraken 50 Mark II. Is that the actual name? The Kraken VX Mark II Professional. Let's do it. Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and what I do is I take all sorts of awesome high gain related guitar equipment, I record it with a simple SM57 setup, and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. And I pointed too soon when I was doing that talking bit. So if you're into E-standard thrash riffs, dropsy hardcore riffs, and dudes that constantly have grease stains on their shirt, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on the way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! Alright guys, so today we are checking out the Victory, the Kraken VX Mark II. This second version of the Kraken amplifier just came out a couple of days ago, and you guys have been asking me to check the Kraken out on the channel for quite some time. And it's kind of funny because I literally just bought the first model from a friend like 2 weeks ago. So now I actually have both of them in-house, so instead of doing a dedicated video on the Mark I, figured we'll do a video on the new Mark II. Because the Mark I is going to be discontinued, we'll do a very quick shootout between the two towards the end of the video just to see how they compare voicing wise. But for all intents and purposes, they're really supposed to be very similar. I believe they added just a little bit more low end in the Mark II. They added an extra master volume, and importantly, they added a presence switch. There's also a presence shift on the back, so you can shift the value that, or not the value, but the frequency that presence control affects. With the button out, it's a little bit higher. With the button in, that frequency bumps down a little bit. I can honestly tell you that the high end is where I was really struggling with the original one, because I could never quite get it where I liked without it sounding really harsh and ear fatiguing, and that's why I could really never get along with it. So we're gonna see if we can kind of get past that now that this thing has a presence control on it. This model still retains the bass focus function of the first one, so it really tightens up that low end if you push that bass focus switch in. So if you're playing on downtuned, or extended range, I tried to combine some words there. Didn't work. Where you need to really cut the low end in order to retain the tightness, that switch is there, which I think is a nice feature. This also has a switchable effects loop, and again, we've got foot switchable master volumes between the two channels. And then finally, I believe they voiced the first channel to be a true clean, whereas on the other one, it was kind of more of like a, you know, dirty British type of channel. It never really got clean. So we'll check that out super quick, not for the clean tones. I'm just gonna see if we can get some cool crunch stuff out of this thing. I'm also going to swap around a few different guitars with a few different types of pickups so you guys can really see what this thing can do. I have another cab on standby as well, because I can already tell you that with my first hour or so with this amp, I still am having issues with the top end for my personal taste. I really like that top end sizzle. Channel 2 is supposed to be modeled after a 5150 block wetter. God, words are hard. Block letter with some tweaks, and I definitely hear that voicing in there, but the sizzle that I love so much about the PV5150 is not in this amplifier either. It's definitely better, in my opinion, than it is on the Mark I, but it still just doesn't quite get there. But we're gonna swap out a different cab that has a naturally brighter top end to see if we can kind of get that sizzle. Yeah, we got a lot of ground to cover with this demo. So right now I want to let you know this is a sponsored video. But not by Victory. I actually reached out to Sweetwater to see if I could get one of these babies in-house for you guys to check it out with you here on the channel. So they loaned me the amplifier for the purposes of this video. So everybody say thank you, Sweetwater. And if you guys want to end up picking up one of these amps or anything else, any new gear, after you're done watching this video, head down and hit that Sweetwater affiliate link down in the description of this video, because that really does massively help the channel out. It makes stuff like this possible, and huge shout to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video and letting me borrow this bad boy. But just because this is a sponsored video does not mean that my opinion is going to change in the least. You guys are still gonna get my honest thoughts and opinions. Feel free to take what I have to say with a grain of salt, but just know I'm gonna give you my honest opinion regardless. Keep that in mind. All right, guys, so for that intro clip, I had my Balaguer Typhon with the Duncan distortion in the bridge. We're going through my Mesa 1999 traditional 4x12 cab with the stock vintage 30s, SM57 directly on that V30, no post-processing on any of the audio that you hear in this video. And we were boosting the amp with the MXR M77, so let's revisit that tone real quick just to refresh your memory. All right, so when Rebea says that this amp was modeled after a 5150, I absolutely believe him, because it definitely has that DNA to it. But to me, it seems like it's been a bit modernized, meaning they have taken some of that sizzle out of the top end and they have shifted the mids a little bit to be a little more modern, a little more quacky. Again, I feel like this amp is very ear fatiguing if you're sitting and playing it by yourself, if you push those mids whatsoever, which I typically do. But I will say with the Mark I, that thing in a mix definitely sat exactly where it needed to. When Bushido Code was practicing often, Derek would bring the Kraken with him as his practice amp, his portable practice amp, and that thing had all the headroom you could need and also had the mids to cut really, really well. So keep that in mind. But with that first high gain tone out of the way, let's turn that boost off. Let's actually go over to channel 1. And this is a 3-way switch, so we've got clean, gain 1 in the middle, and gain 2. So technically 3 channels, but obviously you're gonna share the EQ between all 3 of them, so it's probably gonna be hard to balance them out. I'm already talking too much. Let's grab a guitar with lower output pickups and see how it fares on the clean and crunch channel. All right, guys, so I have my PRS SE McCarty 594 single cut here with the stock 5815 LTS pickups. These are essentially PRS's take on a low output PAF. All right, so as you can see with the gain maxed on the clean channel, it does break up a little bit. It's actually a really nice sounding clean channel. Don't tell anybody I said that because I could lose my license to belligerence, but it sounds good. That's enough of that though. Let's go right on over into that gain 1 channel. Let's back that gain back down. All right, but obviously we're gonna need way more gain than that. Let's go ahead and push it up to 11 o'clock. I like this channel quite a bit. I might like this channel more than the high gain channel. Again, don't tell anybody. Let's go ahead, let's pump that up to 1 o'clock. To be honest, guys, that is an incredible, like, crunchy British mid-gain tone right there. It sounds really, really good. I'm very genuinely surprised because I never really messed with this channel on the first one. Let's go ahead and bump it up. All right, so with the gain all the way up, definitely not quite enough saturation in order to do like the higher gain stuff, but let's go ahead, let's kick on a Boss SD1. So, can it do it? Sure. Not my first choice though, not totally loving that. Let's try a hotter overdrive though. Let's try the Licklarium King in yellow. This should be able to add some serious saturation. So can it get high gain? Absolutely. With the right boost, if you had a hotter pickup even, it's really saturated as is, but it sounds tubby and undefined in the low end, and no matter how much bass you cut out, I think that's just kind of the gain structure of this channel. But if we're talking mid-gain tones, like... that sounds really good. It's also really responsive to how hard you dig in. I wasn't playing very hard until those last couple notes, and then I really kind of hammered those strings, and it just brought all that saturation and fullness. And Channel 1 is an absolute winner as far as the low to mid gain tones go, and the clean I thought sounded really good too. So not the things I usually focus on, but I was genuinely enjoying them. Let's go over to Channel 2 before I get canceled though. Click that overdrive off. So, sounds pretty good overall, definitely mid-forward. Again, kind of blanket over the speakers type thing going on just because the presence doesn't quite do it for me where it's at. Let's go ahead, let's pump that gain up a little bit. Got some hiss coming through the speakers, pretty loud. The first one was a very noisy amp, the second one is still pretty noisy. Let's go ahead, let's hit that presence switch button though. All right, that definitely bumps that frequency up a good bit. Let's pull the presence back. Way more to my liking, to be totally honest. Let's switch over to that Duncan distortion guitar again though, since we're on the high gain channel. All right, that's still no boost. It's nice and tight. Let's go ahead, let's click in the bass control. Amp is incredibly tight and percussive with no overdrive out front. I've got no overdrive on. So it's still bright up top quite a bit. Let's pull that presence back just a little bit more and the mid back a little bit more to take out. That mid gets very harsh because if we dial it up, very harsh. If we dial it back down to noon, that levels it out a good bit. We still have a lot of top end stringiness going on. Let's pull that bass switch out. All right, so it's a little fatter, a little thicker. Let's click in that MXR M77 Badass Modified Overdrive again. There's still just a frequency in there that I can't quite seem to get rid of. And the upper mids or the lower high frequency, if that isn't super confusing, but it's just a little fatiguing on the ears, a little unpleasant in my opinion, and that's what's keeping me from really loving the amp, even though I'm liking so many things about it. Let's try a drop C hardcore riff. All right, so tight, I mean, it sounds guttural, it sounds mean. Let's turn that overdrive off. Let's hit that bass switch again on the back. I think I like it better without a boost in the lower tuning with that bass switch in. That actually works really, really nicely. Yeah, let's try an active pickup now. All right, guys, so I have my LTD Phoenix Black Metal here with the Fluff Signature Fishman Fluence pickup. I've touched nothing on the amp. All right, so now we have kind of more of a vocal mid-range. Let's turn that treble up a little bit, presence down. Let's get a little bit more gain. All right, so that's no boost. Let's click that bass switch. And let's hit that MXR one more time. Last but not least, 7th string. All right, guys, got my Schecter PT Hybrid here with the EMG 57 in the bridge. We have no boost on out in front of the amp. We've got that bass switch kicked in, and it sounds like this. All right, guys, so last thing we're gonna do, switch out the cab, and I'm gonna put the Mark I and the Mark II on top together. We'll do a quick A/B, and that'll be it for this video. All right, guys, so I have both amps hooked up to my KHE amp switcher, and I have swapped the Mesa cab out for the Engel E412 XXL. This is a front-loaded cab, still with vintage 30s, but being front-loaded and having that metal front grille should actually allow for a much brighter tone. On top of that KHE amp switcher, we've got both the Mark I and the Mark II Kraken, and if I hear anybody complain about safety, you're getting your belligerent card revoked. So with that said, I've got everything set up at noon on both of these amplifiers. I've got them volume matched, and we are on the gain 2 channel through both amplifiers. I also have the presence set at 0 on the Mark II because I watched a video with Rabia this morning where he said that the presence off should be the same as not having the presence knob is what I was trying to say. The same as not having the presence knob on the Mark I. So let's go ahead, let's flip between the two and let's see how similar they sound. We've got no boost on and that bass switch is out. 1 on the switcher is going to be Mark I and 2 on the switcher is Mark II. So immediately there are noticeable differences in that top end. Even with the presence dialed back, the Mark II just has much more overall aggression. I personally prefer the Mark II quite a bit due to that overall aggression. The V1 is a good bit smoother. Let's see if we can make up for that by boosting the treble on the Mark I. Yeah, there are some inherent voicing differences with that presence on the V2 versus the V1. This is a little bit less mid-forward overall, has a little bit more, not of a scoopier, but the mids just aren't there quite the same, but in a good way. I think that this sounds much more pleasant than the V1 when comparing back to back. So let's go ahead, let's hit it with a boost one last time, and let's see what type of tone we can get out of it boosted, and then we'll call it a day. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for me today on the Victory the Kraken VX Mark II. What did you guys think about this amplifier? Let me know down below in the comments. Always curious to see what you guys have to say. Right now, Sweetwater has this on sale for $1,549. They are blowing out the V1 for $1,000. So if you like the V1 better in this shootout, go ahead, now's the time to grab it because you can get a brand new one with warranty for $1,000 from that Sweetwater affiliate link below. Or if you like the sound of the V2, they are on sale and in stock at Sweetwater as of right now. Affiliate links below. Again, really appreciate it when you guys click those because it allows me to do cool stuff like this. And huge thanks to Sweetwater for sending this out and sponsoring this video. I'm really genuinely curious to see what you guys have to say, not only on the V2 and the voicing, but how it compares to the V1. Is this an amp that you guys think that you'll be picking up? Did you guys like the tones that I was able to get out of it? And for the few of you who have actually gotten to play this amp so far, is it something that you like and something that you think you will add to your collection or keep in your collection if you bought it? Whatever it is, let me know down in the comments below. Make sure to hit the like button if you like the video. I know you like the video. Just go ahead and do it. I can't even talk at this point. Subscribe. I'm gonna get the hell out of here. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time.
You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.